In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the same data set as in the cluster analysis video to make a perceptual map. And this is a little bit more complicated because of the way the questionnaire is set up. I'll explain as we go along. But basically, this data relates to energy drinks, and the two brands that are being considered are Red Bull and Monster. And the questionnaire measures the perceptions of Red Bull and Monster on 5 attributes in each case. The questionnaire also asks, what is your favorite brand? And they could choose from Red Bull, Monster, and some other options. And then following that, the next question is asking them to rate their favorite brand on the same 5 attributes. In other words, there's ratings for Monster, there's ratings for Red Bull, and there's ratings for a favorite brand, but some of the favorite brand ratings are for Monster and some of the favorite brand ratings are for Red Bull, and the remaining favorite brand ratings are for other brands. So it's a little bit complicated, and we need to try and organize it so that all the Red Bull ratings are together, all the Monster ratings are together, and all the other brands ratings are together. So here's what we do. First, we create a new tab. To make life easier for us, we create a new tab and we call it favorite brand data. Okay, then we go back to the original sheet and we copy these columns. This first column says which one of these energy drink brands did you consider your favorite, and the next one says if they chose other in the previous question, then they have to write it in, so it's a text entry question. And then there are perceptions of their favorite brand in on the 5 attributes. So there are a total of 7 columns that relate to what their favorite brand is and how they rate it. So I'm going to copy those and take them over to the favorite brand tab. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this information, this first row, because it really doesn't have any useful information. It's just question numbers. I'm going to widen the columns a little bit, and I'm going to wrap the text so it doesn't take up so much space. I'm going to highlight all of these columns and I'm going to sort them so that all the brands are together. All the brand numbers are all grouped together. So I'm going to sort by column 1. Which brand do you consider your favorite? And so once I do that, all the ratings for brand number 1 come together in this first set of numbers, and then they are followed by the ratings for brand number 2 and so on, and then brand number 3 and 4 and 5. Brand number 5 is basically an other category, and so I'm going to just call it that, and I'll delete the actual names that people typed in since that's not really important. I'm going to write the brand names over here so that I know what brands these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 refer to. Brand name 1 is basically Red Bull, and brand name 2 is Monster. Brand name 3, I'm not sure, but I'll just give it a name, brand 3, and brand 4, and other. All right. So now I've got these brands identified. I'm just going to make it easier to work with and move this column over to the left. So I've cut the column and I'm going to insert cut cells over here. So now I have the brand number here in column B, and I've got the perception ratings for that brand in the next 5 columns. So the next thing we do is create a set of columns for each of the brands in our data set. I already have columns for Monster and Red Bull that were directly asked in the questionnaire. So I'm just going to copy these 10 columns which relate to 5 attributes each for Monster and Red Bull. I'm going to copy them and paste them here next to this one. And again, I'm going to maybe widen this a little bit. Let's see. And make it look a little prettier. Okay, so now I have a set of questions for Red Bull over here, and a set of questions for Monster over here. So now I'm going to create a set of columns in which I can paste the ratings for brands 3, 4, and 5. So I'll start here by pasting a rating for brand 3 and attribute 1. All right. And then I'll go to brand 3, attribute 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just copy and paste, and I'll edit it so that it's attribute 2, attribute 3, attribute 4, and attribute 5. All right. So now I'll do the same thing and create a set of columns for brand 4 and 5. So I'll just copy this whole thing, and then I'm going to copy it again so that I now have brands 3, 4, and 5 set up, but I just have to change the headings. So I can go in and type these things, these changes one at a time, or I can just use a shortcut, and there's a Control H function in Excel, which is a find and replace function. Hold down Control, press H, and you get this dialog box in which you type in brand 3. You want to replace it with brand 4, and click on replace all, and it'll say we made those replacements. Then you go to the last set of columns, and you say, and you still have Control H open, you say replace brand 3 with brand 5 and replace all, and that changes as well. So now you've got the column set up. All you have to do is transfer these ratings over. So I'm going to take all the ratings starting in column C. These are the 5 attribute ratings for Red Bull. I'm going to go make sure I only pick the Red Bull ratings, and I go here and I paste them here. Then I take the ones for Monster and I paste them here. Then I do the same with brand 3, and that is over here. And then I go do the same for brand 4, only 2 ratings here, and brand 4 goes here, and finally for brand 5, which is the other category. So I'm going to copy these ratings and go here. This is in this column. Okay, so now I've got my ratings set up, and I will now have to transfer the original ratings for Monster and Red Bull over into this tab as well, because this is only for the favorite brand. But you remember we also got ratings for the 2 brands directly, and so those ratings are here. I'm just going to copy, this is for Red Bull. I'm just going to copy the Red Bull ratings all the way here. I think that's it. And we go over here. This is for Red Bull, so I go to the Red Bull column. Oh, and by the way, you should always, when you're working with these long columns, you can always click on View, Freeze Panes, and Freeze Top Row. Okay, so that when you scroll up, you don't have to keep going back and forth to see what the column is. So this is for Red Bull. I'm copying and pasting it here, and then I do the same for Monster. Over here I've got the Monster ratings here, and again I copy and I paste in the Monster columns, making sure I have pasted the end of the previous set of ratings. So that's where it goes. We have ratings for all 5 brands. We have all the data we need. And now the last thing to do is to calculate the average ratings for each brand on each set of attributes. So I'm going to delete these original ratings for the favorite brands, since we don't need them anymore. We've got, starting with Red Bull and going all the way to brand 5, we've got the ratings we need. So I'm going to just delete the first 5 columns so I don't get confused. It's easy to get confused when you're working with a lot of data. And so this goes all the way up to row 176. So I'm going to, first of all, because I've done this before, I should tell you that by default, the information, the cells will be formatted as text. So you can't really do much with that. So highlight this row where you want the averages to go and click on the format field and format as number. And now click on average. Now use the average function equal to average, and then highlight the cells that you want to average all the way from 2 to 176 and click OK, and you get the average. 3.27 is the average. Alright, so let's make it bold so we can see what it is. Now I can just copy and paste this cell all the way to the end of the data, to the last brand 5 attribute 5 column. So now I have averages. So I did Control V and I've got all the averages now pasted. So now we're ready to transfer the data over into the perceptual map template. But before we do that, remember that we can only map 2 attributes at a time. So let's first identify the most important attributes so we can make sure to look at those, at least initially. And to do that, we can go back to the cluster analysis tab, where we have the attribute importance data, if you remember from the previous video. And if I go to the cluster analysis tab, here are the 5 attribute importance ratings for all the people who answered that question. I'm just going to calculate the averages for each. Again, make sure to format these cells as number, otherwise the function won't work. And now once you're ready, type equal to average and then select this cell and go all the way back up, and that's your average, 3.91. Again, I'm going to bold this and copy and paste this into the others. So now we know that the average importance is greatest for this middle attribute, which is energy boost. Okay, how important is energy boost when making a decision? So this is energy boost, the most important, and then followed by taste, and then followed by affordability. So these first 3 attributes are the most important. So I'm definitely going to start with these attribute number 1 and 3, which is taste and energy boost, and make sure to put them in the perceptual map template. So now if you look at the perceptual map template, you notice that you have your brands, brand names. You need to enter them in this column, one below the other. So these are the 5 brands, and I want to get ratings for them 1 attribute at a time. That means I've got to go back to the data and make sure to identify the same attribute ratings for the different brands. So notice that this is the rating for taste for Red Bull. So this is the rating for Monster on taste, and this is the rating for brand 3 on taste, and this is the rating for brand 4 on taste, and finally this is the rating for brand 5 on taste. So make sure to identify the correct attribute, the same attribute for all the brands, and get those averages. So it's 3.27, 2.95, and so on. So I'm going to enter them in. Once you've identified all the right numbers to use for attribute 1, make sure to highlight the whole row and copy and paste as values, because otherwise you can't really move these numbers around. They'll keep changing, because if it's a formula, these are based on formulas. So now I've pasted them as values. Now I can just copy and paste these numbers below each other. And here we go. This is for brand 3 and brand 4 and brand 5. Okay, so these are all the attributes for taste. Let's do the same thing for the other attribute we want to use, which is energy boost. Okay, So the energy boost is the third attribute. So we'll start here. I'm going to give it a different color. So so I know which one it is. So this is all the yellow colored cells are all ratings for perceptions of the brand on that attribute. And now I can just copy and paste them below one another. So now you're ready to transfer the information to the Excel template. So I'm going to copy all of these numbers together. They represent the ratings for taste on these attributes. And I've copied them, and now I just paste them. And that's what happens. And then for the next one, I copy the numbers here and I paste it into the template, and this is over here. So now remember the first attribute, which is your horizontal axis, has to do with taste. So you need to make sure to label the endpoints for that axis. Poor taste on the left, good taste on the right. For attribute 2, which is the vertical axis, this has to do with energy boost. So the left side represents low energy boost, and the right side represents high energy boost. Now, the one thing before you actually run this or look at the data, you need to make sure that the data are in the right format. So there's something called a data converter. You have to make sure that the data are from a 1 to 9 scale. These data happen to be 1 to 5 scale, so we need to convert them. So I'm going to copy some of this information and take it into the data converter tab. And in this one, the data converter tab, you list the names of the brands over here. Also fill in this information. The maximum of the scale you're using is 5. The minimum is 1. Your data for attribute A is over here, so make sure to copy and paste that. And then your data for attribute B is over here, copy and paste that. Now you have the data in the 9-point scale format. So now you enter this information, which is your adjusted data for the horizontal attribute. You copy and paste that back into the map. And you'll need to paste values, otherwise it may not work properly. So I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to paste as values. Okay. So now I'm ready to look at my map. It should be all good to go. I've got data for these attributes. So I'm going to expand the template, and there is my market. Oops, I didn't change the name of the name of the map. Let me do that before I forget. So this is energy drinks map, and so now you can interpret, the higher the brand is on this dimension, the more it's perceived as giving you a high energy boost, and the further to the right it is, it's perceived as giving you good taste. All right. So that's how you do a map. I've only used 2 attributes. You can choose 2 other attributes or some combination of the top few attributes and use that to see which gives you a more interesting picture. You can see which map differentiates the brands the best, and that's the one you should use.